Oh, man, there's that mustache again. Okay, so a lot of you guys are still having problems with this understanding of externalities. This is for my seniors, but I'm going to show it to my 11th graders too, since I'm just starting to teach you guys this idea. But let's go ahead and look at the diagram and see what we observe. So what we see is that private benefits are greater than social benefits, which we can explain in one of two ways. Either there are costs from the consumption of this product that are taking away from the social benefit and making society benefit less from this product than what the market thinks, or there might be negative benefits from the consumption of this product. So a negative benefit would be if I'm at a restaurant and I can't enjoy my meal because someone near me is smoking, or if I'm at my house and I can't enjoy being at my house as much because my neighbor's playing loud music, or my view is not as nice because someone builds a factory in the distance, or something like that. That's the idea of a negative benefit. It's different than a cost because a cost is something that's measurable. It's the cost of me having cancer from secondhand smoke or something like that. Okay, so when we look at this, all that matters is Q star. Q star is our very important label which says this is the amount that society wants. Society is okay with using factors of production to produce up into Q star. Remember, this is marginal analysis, so we're saying that at this point, society is okay with this because society's benefit, MSB, is greater than society's cost, MSC. Therefore, they want this, and they want that one, and that one as well, all the way until they get to Q star. Does that mean there's not an externality here? No, of course not. In fact, we see right here that there is an externality that coincides with this first green arrow. Well, what does that mean? Well, okay, let's take a few of those examples. Again, maybe if we think about a negative benefit, maybe if my neighbor's playing their music too loudly, it's okay because I know sometimes I play my music too loudly, or maybe I do something that annoys them. So that could be a way that we, talk about this, that yeah, the externality is still there, but society's okay with it. And again, that remains true until we get to Q star. The problem is when we move beyond Q star, which is this region between what society wants at Q star and what the private market actually produces. So here, what we're observing is that social costs, MSC, are greater than social benefits. So society doesn't want this, nor do they want that or that until they get to QPR. Well, they don't want anything beyond Q star. But that's not a problem once we get past QPR, because at this point, MPC is greater than MPB, therefore, these quantities won't be produced. So it doesn't matter that society doesn't want them because the private market won't produce them. Let's go back and look at the externalities for these that are produced by the private market but society doesn't want. What you'll notice is that the externality is still there, but if you compare this orange arrow to this orange arrow, you see it's actually smaller. So what this means is some of the externality is actually physically being paid for by the private market. So, if this is a factory in the distance that kind of destroys your view, maybe now it's actually depreciating the value of your house, something like that. And we see that, more and more as we move further and further to the right until we get to QPR, we see that more and more of the externality, that is the vertical distance between MSB and MPB, more of that is being passed on to society. And that's the essence of our problem. So let's come back to the main point. Q star is what we want. So when we talk about community surplus, and again, we're not talking about producer and consumer surplus because the distinction between those two groups of people is irrelevant here. When we talk about community surplus, we're saying that community enjoys the production of this good up until Q star, and it's maximized at Q star. Remember, for things that are demerit goods, things we maybe really don't like, smoking or alcohol or whatever it might be, remember the people who enjoy that are just as much part of society as anyone else. Therefore, their enjoyment is part of this community surplus that we're looking at. It doesn't matter if you don't like smoking, that's somebody else's business, not yours, if you want to live in a free and liberal society. The problem is this region over here, which we call our region of welfare loss or deadweight loss, whatever you want to call it. So when we look at this region of welfare loss, what we have to understand is that community surplus, this big green area, it's like it's being reduced by that chunk of welfare loss. Okay, one more time, we're saying that this amount of welfare loss, where social costs are greater than social benefits, it's like you have to subtract that from the community surplus that did exist. The community surplus has been reduced by the size of that red triangle. But obviously you don't have PowerPoint, so you can't make it look fancy like what I just did. Hopefully this helps. Again, the key of this is we want this, and anything beyond it results in some amount of welfare loss. The externality is always present, and sure, it's a problem, but it only becomes a problem that we care about once we get beyond Q star.